Love, welcome to Diaspora Food Stories. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. And you are joining us from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Yes, I am.
How is that over there on the East Coast?
How is it over here? Well, the weather doesn't know what it wants to do. So we have these warm days where it's like 80 degrees and then it drops down to 50s and 40s and it's just all over the place. But otherwise it's great. The area is growing, people are thriving. It's a good space to be in right now.
Awesome. And I was there briefly last June to go to a small little vegan, not a vegan, excuse me, wine shop. And so just drove down from Richmond. So it was a nice little drive down, taking that drive down and having lunch. And so got to experience a little bit of your city, but not that much. So looking forward to doing that. But thank you for joining me today. We're going to get into all things plant-based, what you're doing there at Culture, which is very exciting, and what you're offering to the community and the twist that you bring. And so, with this being about food and a food journey, I always want to go back to the very beginning because there was always that time that leads you to where you are now. So, have you always lived in Virginia Beach?
I have not. We were actually nomadic growing up for the most part. I was born in St. Louis, moved to Denver, moved from Denver to Virginia, from Virginia to Seattle, and then from Seattle back here in my 20s. So a
Wow.
bit nomadic.
I see. Difference all around. I remember St. Louis, the spaghetti factory. I had some cousins that went to school there, and so that's my memory of an arc, I believe, as well. So
Yep.
definitely St. Louis. So growing up, how did was food ever sort of a center part for the family, for gatherings and things like that? What are some of your food memories?
Oh, definitely. So a couple different things that ways we connected to food was when we lived in Denver and all of my siblings and family, we were closer together. Um, we would do Sunday dinners.
Mm,
And that was always, I mean, just even in the Black family dynamic period or any family dynamic, it's Sunday dinner is a vital part of the week.
hmm.
Um, and so we used to do that for a good while, and that was my connection with food at a young age, and then kind of moving into my teen years. I remember we used to my parents would drink coffee
Oh,
all the time, and so we would drink coffee and then eat bear claws
wow.
together and then play like dice games and things like that. But one of the biggest impressions that I had on food in my younger years, with food in my younger years, was we used to go on road trips a lot. I mean, we
Mhm.
were probably road tripping every, two parents, three kids. We were always on the road, and just because we had family in so many different places that
Mhm.
we wanted to visit, or we just wanted to explore. And so my favorite part of all the trips was in the morning. It was the
Oh,
morning time,
mm.
breakfast and lunch, and we would stop at these like divey breakfast joints where they had all these big portions, and the food was really good, and they were usually smaller businesses, local town spots, and just delicious.
Wow.
I just really enjoyed that morning time. I remember my parents used to try to sneak out in the mornings and go eat breakfast together, and I would catch them.
That's good,
I
yeah.
would catch them, and they had to take me with them.
What were some of your favorite, breakfast, brunch favorites?
Ooh, so pancakes.
Mhm.
Interestingly, pancakes for a while, and then I stopped eating pancakes. I didn't like the smell of them for
Oh,
whatever reason. I
wow.
don't know what it was. And then I picked them back up later on. But pancakes, of course, back then it was bacon, sausage, and I love to 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 put my sausage in the syrup and sop
Mhm.
it up and eat it. Potatoes.
Yes.
So potatoes was number one for me.
Okay.
I could eat the hell out of potatoes.
I know, a good
I could
breakfast
eat
potato, and you got a good breakfast.
Yep, yep. I didn't like eggs particularly. That wasn't my jam. But I was potatoes, pancakes, sausage. I mean, I was simple, but I loved it. It was that was
I
it
mean,
was
even to this day, breakfast is my favorite because I don't, I'm so up and running in the mornings that is usually a bar or a smoothie or something. So I'm like you, to go out for breakfast, love it. My favorite meal to go out to. So, as you're growing up, fast forward, move to Virginia Beach, Seattle, and then back to Virginia
Mhm.
Beach. I believe that's where the vegan or the plant-based lifestyle started, that second move back to Virginia?
It did. Yep. It sparked it even more. So right before I moved from Seattle, a few years before, I
Mhm.
was dibbling and dabbling in different milks. So I
Oh,
was actually drinking soy milk only at one point. And so I was introduced to it. Actually, the seeds were planted in Seattle because the culture out there was a little bit more ahead
right.
than it is here. But
Mhm.
it didn't actually take precedence until I moved back to Virginia.
Okay. Wow, and so let's get into it in terms
Yep.
of when you started, dabbling into a plant-based lifestyle.
Absolutely. So, funny story. I was dating a guy at the time, and he was all into Lions of Judah and, no pork. And, he was just kind of radical, right?
Mhm.
And so he was like, well, why don't you try no meat for 30 days? And I was like, you challenging me? Okay, you don't challenge me, I'll take the challenge. So I
Mhm.
took the challenge, did it for 30 days, came off of it, and I was like, all right, cool, that was good. I wasn't at the time evaluating my body and what effects it had on it.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't really actually feel like I was I was doing it for the reasons that I did it for eventually, right? So let me just say that. Um,
So no cravings, no during those 30 days, no giving in, no seeing those ribs or whatever, and you're like, "Oh my goodness."
and yeah, no, it was just like, okay, I'm on this challenge because I'm not going to lose this challenge.
Okay.
That was kind of it was very competitive, right? So went through that 30 days and then just kind of went back to normal. Broke up with
Mhm.
him. I wasn't interested anymore.
Mhm.
Um, things just kind of went forward from there, and then I met the next guy I was gonna date, and he was actually in the military, super into fitness, and we started a fitness company together. And also, I challenged him. I was like,
Okay.
you should do this with me. And he was already, like I said, very healthy and kind of on his also spiritual journey, and so I challenged him and we did it for 30 days. And then I remember we came off that 30 days. It was like springtime, it was April time frame. And I remember we went to the Philly cheesesteak joint
Mhm.
because he was from Philly.
Okay.
So I went to the Philly cheesesteak joint, ate it, and we were like, dang, yo, like we feel heavy.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is a lot. I mean, I think when we were going through the 30 days, it was almost like for me it was again it was I'm challenging him, so of
Right.
course I have to stick with it, and I'm enjoying kind of just doing it with him and us. At this point I'm all in with him. I'm like, you know what, I think we could do this, right? And so I'm enjoying this now because we're doing it together. It feels like a union of
Right.
sorts, right?
Mhm.
And so when we had that cheesesteak that day, it was so profound
Mm.
that meat was no longer going to be a major part of our diet.
Wow. And what year was that?
This was 2014 was when I challenged him. Well, no, it was 2015. It
Okay. So
was
question for
2015.
you, as you're going through whether the first challenge or the second challenge, what is your foundation base around plant-based diet? people being vegan, Black people being vegan.
Mhm.
Where are you at in terms of your knowledge bank around that piece?
I would say I'm pretty knowledgeable about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
I don't have all the fancy terms and all the
Right.
fancy,
Right.
research but around it. But I have a good generalized knowledge of it where I can hold a conversation about our relationship with food and how it has
Mhm.
traveled through our diaspora,
Gotcha.
throughout the generations. So I definitely
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
that ability to have that conversation.
And so my second question then is, so at this time, what was your relationship with food? Was it more of, a foodie thing, or was it, just, food that you're just eating, consuming on a day-to-day basis? It's not like you were, particularly, doing all this extravagant stuff. It's just, regular relationship with food.
Yeah, so I would say my relationship with food, I was definitely a foodie,
Okay.
but I wasn't outwardly a foodie. It was just
Mhm.
more like, "Oh, I wanna try this," or "I wanna
Mhm.
try that," or "Oh, you introduced me to this. I would love to try that." It was almost like a natural occurring
Mhm.
thing for me to wanna try new foods. At the time, I had already cut out pork and I had already cut out chicken.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had already cut out pork and beef,
Gotcha.
not chicken, and I kept chicken and turkey at the time and seafood. But I cut out um, the heavier meats.
And that's
And
where I was leading. Would it be, with the question around your relationship with food? Because some people find it really hard to give up, them. Again, I go back because I love give up ribs, give up chicken, give up this, give up that. You know what I mean? Some people find it really hard, um, probably in the beginning. But again, if you really want to do it, you can.
absolutely, I think that our relationship with food is very nostalgic as it pertains to our
Mhm.
upbringing as well. And
Very
so
personal. Yep.
yeah, I mean, because if you consider our lineage and you consider and even because I always tread when I'm telling people about veganism and being plant-based and all that good jazz. I tell people, first of all, straight up, I swing if I need to swing and eat some seafood, eat something that my body is craving, I will do that, right?
Mhm.
And maintain a plant-based diet while I'm doing it. But if I need to swing, I will swing because I know that I'm still purging out some ancestral stuff that my ancestors had going on. But
Mhm.
I also have to read that and maintain a certain level of understanding that I can't do it the way that everybody else is doing it, and
Right.
neither should they,
Right.
right? Right, a plant-based diet is just good for your body because it's I mean you need to consume plant medicine, right? You need to consume electric foods. And when you consume electric foods, you are healing the body. So
Right.
even if you do need to swing every now and then, at least most of your diet is being consumed, or you're consuming mostly plants um, and those nutrients those vital nutrients that your body needs
And I
to
think
be
what you
re-energized.
said is very important, that it is your journey, right? And how you choose to go about it. So if even if you consume a piece of chicken or turkey or whatever, don't be so hard on yourself. And and people shouldn't judge you around that too.
Right.
So really, because food is so personal, your relationship there, I totally agree. Make it work for you, and most importantly, your body. Is your body.
Exactly. Exactly. It's your body. And again, you have to understand how your ancestors ate because even how we eat, let's consider how people eat steaks, right?
Mhm.
Black people, we're like, nah. Every once in a while, you'll see, a black person be like, I'll take it medium well, a
Right.
little bit of pink, but,
Mhm.
and then you have some white people who are like, I'll take it seared a little bit on otherwise I'll
Seen
eat
it
it
too,
raw.
and girl,
Right,
I'm like, I can't.
right. And so so then let's talk about how some black people got white in them, right? And how sometimes we tap into that lineage
In
and
terms of
how
mhm.
and how they've historically eaten their food.
Mhm, mhm.
right? And then Black people, we've historically cooked our foods, or we've historically just eaten the raw veggies and fruits and things like that. We are not historically a meat eating, we would eat meat for the village. So it would be, we would, kill an animal, and that animal would feed the village.
Right, and to your point, veganism is nothing new to the Black community, to Black culture, nothing new at all. And we've done plenty of stories over the years around, families and chefs today that they were raised on a plant-based diet and never know the taste of chicken or anything else, So again, it is nothing new, but it's just great that, as Black people in the movement, we're starting to get, our stories are starting to be told because they basically weren't told. So therefore maybe looked like, we did not exist in that vegan world.
Mhm.
But now that these stories are being told, we're tracing it all the way back. So
Definitely, and I think that if we consider that we were the garden, we tended to the gardens,
mhm,
and so we carried that as well. It's only been a small piece of history where we ate so poorly that now we have all these diseases, and we forget that it hasn't been, a huge, it hasn't been a huge length of history where we've been eating like this,
right, right.
right? But it has significantly changed the way we see food.